everybody. Brodnax here with another episode of Stage Your Talk, and I am so excited today because I have Kristie Barnett, the decorologist, on.
Hey,
Kristie.
hi.
And I have Anthea Click. Hello, Anthea. How are you?
Hey, everyone.
So I'm so excited to have you both here. So let's just jump in because we've got a lot to talk about today. RESACON is coming in July 2019. We're so excited about it. Both of you have spoken at our events before, and can I just tell you both, you both are rank up there in the speakers that have had the highest marks and the highest, greatest feedback. So we definitely appreciate that, all of your contributions to the industry. Anthea, let's start with you because you did a talk at RESA Connect Atlanta this winter at the America's Mart, and it's I'm just going to read it. It's called The Winning Culture Effect, and what this was really about was how to build your team and how to find the right people. And I absolutely loved everything it was that you had to say, but can you give people a little bit of a snapshot about what you're going to talk about and what you're going to teach them?
Well, it actually started with, I made all of the mistakes that you possibly could make in hiring people. I felt like if you could breathe, you could be on my team. And I learned quickly that that can absolutely destroy your company. So I really started studying and researching, how do I hire the right people? And I feel like that is such a thorn in all of our sides, is as we start to grow, who do you hire? What are the things that you ask? What do you look for in people? And so not only is it really important to make sure you're hiring the right person, but it's also really important to keep them motivated and having a really good positive company culture, because otherwise they'll leave.
This is so true. This is so very true. And I know, I'm just going to give a little tip out there. You had talked about your hiring process and how you did things in stages, and you'd interview the person, and then you would actually have your team interview the person. And then if you were thinking you're getting really close, you actually took them to dinner.
Yes, I have a 6-step interview process, and it's pretty intense. And the last step is actually, if they're married, I take them to dinner and I interview the spouse. So it's making sure that the spouse is supportive and on board, because my team, let's just face it, my team is not going to get rich working for me until I start developing some more streams of income for them. But in the meantime, that's where we are.
Yep, I love that. Absolutely love that part of it. Now, Kristie, let's talk about you for a minute, because you're definitely known in this industry for your design and your color. I mean, if anybody out there talks about somebody who's that go-to person, you are the name that pops in everybody's brain. So you're going to talk about the psychology of color placement and trends also for 2019. So let's talk about a little bit about that insight.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to talk about color trends. We're going to talk about colors of the year and what those mean and what they don't mean, and how we're going to apply those in staging. We're going to talk about color placement, visual perception. My background is in psychology, and I did lots of work in visual perception and how we perceive things visually in terms of shape and design and color. And color is always, it's like 90% of what we take in visually is related to color. And so that impacts first impressions. It impacts the love at first sight kind of thing that we get when we walk into a home. And so that's something that I've really worked on for the last 12 years to develop a good system for choosing interior paint colors for staging.
It is so important. I've told the story a couple times where I went to my parents' house, and their home is stunning. It's just beautiful, and the colors, everything is just so perfect with each other. And so I took a couple of their colors that were right next to each other in their home and put them in my home and went,
It worked.
It just quite works so well out here. Could not figure out why. Actually got a color consultation from somebody in the industry, did it with the phone. And I was blown away because I was like, it's gray. I mean, how do you mess up gray?
Oh, there's so many ways to mess up gray.
It's so many ways. It was just a train wreck. And so I was fortunate because I did get the color consult. We got the right gray, and it was a miracle. It's like I put it on and I was like, who would know?
It completely transforms everything if you get the right color, if you get the right neutral, right? And not, people always are asking me, what's the best what's the best, most on-trend neutral we can use? And there is no one neutral that solves all your issues. So you have to know, whether or not you need to go down the beige lane or the gray lane or the white lane. And then you have to understand undertones, because probably what happened with you is, color's relative, right? And so when it's in a different setting with different lighting conditions and different furnishings and different colors around it, you see it completely differently. So that something you thought was like a neutral gray, may have ended up looking slightly purple or slightly green or something that you didn't see in your, in your friend or your, who was it? You said your mom's?
My parents, yeah, my parents.
Your parents, yeah.
And it's totally different. Now, there's also a color that's silver mist, and in their dining area, it's the silver mist. And I put it in my bathroom, and it looks amazing. But there was a thing. When I did the gray color, the gray in their house was next to white cabinets. The gray in my house was next to dark cabinets.
Yes.
So it didn't work.
Totally
but the silver
different.
mist is next to white in both their kitchen and now in my bathroom, and it actually looks great.
Yeah, yeah.
So are you going to talk about, do people paint on the ceilings anymore, or ceilings still?
Oh yes, I'm all about painting ceilings. That's kind of my thing. But I do it differently than I think it's been done historically. And we're seeing a lot more painted ceilings. People are really wanting to do something a little different on their ceiling. And so, yes, we're going to talk about that. One of the secrets to choosing the right paint color for your ceiling, if you're going to do that, is it has to be paired with the right wall color. And so you have to have a really high level of contrast between those two, because years ago, if somebody painted their ceiling, they would paint it maybe like the same value as the color on the wall. So for example, maybe the wall color is like a yellow, butter yellow, and then the ceiling would be, a green or something like that. Well, that now has a real dated look just because of that combination and that level of, it looks too much like a playroom or a kid's room. And so to make it more sophisticated, you've got to go with a darker ceiling and a really light neutral wall. So we're definitely gonna be talking about that and how to combine those.
Yeah, so no more painting it the same color, blue on the wall, blue on the ceiling.
Unless you don't have crown molding. It really makes a difference whether you have crown molding or not, how dark or light your wall color is. Because if you have a fairly light neutral on the wall and you don't have crown molding, sometimes it's better just to wrap that color all the way up on the ceiling, and it actually makes your room appear taller than if you have a white ceiling.
Yeah, I'm a fan of the crown molding because then you don't have to worry about your wiggly line on the top.
Yeah, definitely.
I've been working on my house, upgrading some things in my home, and I cannot get a perfect line on that ceiling line if my life depended on it.
No.
Nothing I do. I've watched every YouTube video, you name it. I'm vertically challenged. I'm stretching to try to get my arm up there. Yeah. It's like, that's why you pay people good money to come.
Absolutely. Yes.
It's so worth it.
Hire the pros for sure. That and kitchen cabinets. Don't ever try to paint kitchen cabinets by yourself. Not a good idea.
What's so funny, I did that for mine, and that I did super well.
Did you really?
I did. I used the Rust-Oleum cabinet transformations.
Okay.
And I'm a rock star at that.
Wow. Well, good for you. I've had clients that decided to try that themselves, and within 3 or 4 months, it's chipping because they didn't, properly clean and prime and prep the right way, and it can be bad.
Really good. It was easy to do it. I actually also, and I'm not a spokesperson for Rust-Oleum. However, Rust-Oleum, if you're listening, the Rust-Oleum tile transformation, countertop. I've also done that on two projects, and I'm pretty badass at that one as well.
Mm-hmm.
I tried it and I said, I'm just going to try it because it was not expensive to try it. And I figured if I messed it up, it's okay. We'll just go buy another one and just pull it out and put something new in. Yeah. And I used it, and it was fantastic. I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, Rust-Oleum's awesome.
It was good products. So Anthea, let's jump back to you for a minute and talk about the team building. You also are going to talk about the personality profiles. I don't know if you use DISC or one of the other ones, but can you talk a little bit about that and why you use that?
Yes. So in part of our interview process, we give all of our potential candidates a personality test. I tend to use DISC. There's others out there. There's Myers-Briggs, and there's another good one out there. But anyways, I'm looking to see how this person is wired. So for example, if somebody is is a really big people person and they have a hard time focusing on a task, they're probably really not ideal to be your bookkeeper. So I'm taking a look at the different personality traits, because not only is it really important to have the right person on your team, but it's really important to have the right person in the right seat and making sure they're doing it. And here's a perfect example. I have she used to be my bookkeeper. She's a very high D, so she's very driven. She's very detail oriented. She's just a huge go-getter. She ended up being a little, I would say, well, not as detailed as I really needed her to be. And so she also sold real estate. And come to find out that I was about to pull my hair out with her and just frustrated because things weren't happening the way that I needed them to be. And we decided to move her over into another seat. We eliminated that position, and actually we just did some reorganization. And she became one of my salespeople. Girl kills it. Absolutely kills it. So she has gone from somebody who I was up to here with and so frustrated with, and I couldn't wait to get her out the door, to, oh my gosh, you're like number one in my world, because she's going out. Every single lead that we give her, she tends to close. We call her the closing queen now, because we have been able to put her in the right seat. And now we're able to leverage that, and it's helps my bottom dollar. That profitability, it has improved tremendously, because now I have somebody who's doing what they're supposed to be doing, and she's really happy. Now she doesn't have to mess with some of those other things that were frustrating her and that sort of thing. And so it improves the team morale when everybody is in their lane. They come to work feeling excited. They're ready to win. They want to go get it. They want to tackle it. And it just changes the whole complete dynamics in the office.
I love that. We're do something similar here where we're kind of tracking our time and, who's spending what time on what, to see, is there anything that you don't like that you spend too much time on that you shouldn't be doing, that you could shift to somebody else. Maybe somebody doesn't like doing something particularly, but it's really up someone else's alley. Mm-hmm. And you can kind of switch that around. And man, your people are so happy when you do that.
Yeah, it's amazing the productivity that changes too.
Yeah.
We can do so much more during the day because people are in their lane. And that's what we need to do, is we need to find out what their lane is and keep them in that.
Yeah. The other thing I like about you and I have a lot in common with our mindset as well. When you find somebody really great, kind of get out of the way, let them do what they do, let them take ownership of it. Because the more responsibility that you can find with the right person, per se, you've got to have that person that can handle the responsibility. But the more you turn that over to them, the more ownership they have, the more they excel, the more money you make, the happier they are, and everything works.
Absolutely. And I have seen it happen. I've actually had to let people go because they weren't going to be productive members of the team, and it's very difficult to do. But what I found out is that my team thanked me for it, because when there's somebody that's weighing them down, it's very difficult to come into work and have to either pick up the slack for somebody else. So when you set standards and you follow through with those standards, your team loves and appreciates you and respects you for it. And sometimes we have to make difficult decisions because it's best for the team. And honestly, when you're letting go of somebody, it's really good for them too, because they're not where they're supposed to be. So we want to love them from a distance, and we want to encourage success in other areas. It's just not going to be here. And that's okay,
Sometimes you just got to give somebody an opportunity to move on and find what's right for them. And they will. It's all a law of attraction thing too. It's literally, if they're not supposed to be there, something else better is waiting for them. And I think a lot of times they feel it even within themselves. But I know a lot of times I've been in a situation before when I was much younger where I was at a job where I was so uncomfortable and I hated going to work every day. And I was in the wrong spot. It was the fish out of water feeling. I was afraid. I had to take public transportation. I was being accosted on the street. There wasn't literally one day that would go by that I'd go to or from work that I wasn't in an absolute panic the entire time. Mm-hmm. And didn't last long, but that was just, it was everything telling me I shouldn't have taken this job.
Yeah, it's not a good environment to be in. And it's really important that you're in a really good environment. And as business owners and leaders, it's our responsibility to make sure that we create a good environment for our team, that we have the right people, they're in the right seat, and then we all can excel.
Yep, absolutely. So for your talk, Anthea, would you say any stage or any part of their business can be in this, or do you find typically the people that are ready to grow are at the 3 to 4 year mark? Let me ask you that way, because that's kind of what I'm finding. But I certainly think if somebody's at the 2 year mark or even the 1 year mark, and this is what they're wanting to do from the get-go, I think your class is something that they definitely want to even take, even if they're at the 1 year mark.
Absolutely. I think all of these things apply. If you're wanting to take your business to the next level where you're no longer that solopreneur and you want to start adding people, you really need to make sure that it's the right person, because it's going to take you'll take 10 steps backwards if you don't. And then it can cause some other issues with unhappy clients and that sort of thing. And so really, we have to learn how to build a team. And that's what you become. As you start to transition where other people are taking over roles that you used to do, instead of being that installer, you're now the team leader. And so as leaders, we have responsibility of things that we need to learn, we need to grow. I was not the leader I am today when I started started hiring people. And it's my responsibility to lead, and I take that very seriously. And so I'm constantly growing and stretching. And so you may not be at a place where you're going to be hiring somebody right now, but if you start to lay the foundation and you start to lay the groundwork, when you do get to that point of hiring, and I think the first hire I think that's the hardest, because the question I get a lot is, what do I hire for? Like, what position? And my response to that is, what do you hate to do? What is the first thing that you would unload? If money was not an issue, what would be the first thing that you want to unload? For me, at the time, that was moving sofas. So we hired a guy to help us move sofas. And then the next thing is the financial part. Don't put me in the books. I hate it. I'm not wired like that. So I needed to hire somebody who was really good at that, so that I could take that off my plate. So that's what I'm going to be covering in the talk in July. We're going to be talking about how do we grow, what are the things that we need to do, and how do we keep that team motivated so that we can maintain good, positive people, because you will run off your good people if you don't give them a good environment to be in.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Kristie, with your topic of color, I think everybody that's in the industry, you kind of know yourself through your own self whether or not you need more information on color. Because I don't think that, I think that it's probably a lot of people, you kind of either have the eye for it or you don't, but can color really be learned?
Absolutely. Absolutely. When I first started doing color consultations, it was probably 12 or 13 years ago. And when I started integrating that into my staging consultations, it changed everything, but it took me a while. It took me a while to figure it all out, to learn, to experiment. My house was my laboratory. My own home was my laboratory, and tested and failed and did all kinds of things, did every kind of training and learning that I could possibly do. And I really do think that it's not just a science. It's not just an art. It's a science. It's a process. And I'm real big about processes. I'm real big about, in terms of furniture arrangement, which I spoke at RESA several years ago about furniture arrangement, about very specifically and strategically how you place furniture to draw attention to architecture and to help sell the home, and not have the focus be on the decor, but on what you're selling, which is architecture. Same is true for color. It's really not even about like a specific color, but it's like how you use color to visually manipulate spaces, how to draw attention to the architecture with color, how to draw people through the space and navigate the space. And so it's really more about how to use color. Not so much what's the best paint color to use here, but how do you use it, and how do you use it strategically? Because I think it's just, when I started doing paint color consultations back all those years ago, I didn't know anybody else who was doing that. Not in this industry, and really not even in Nashville. There weren't people who you could just hire to do your paint colors. And so I got real popular with the realtors here because, they were still using like Killam beige that they've been using for 20 years or accessible beige. And all the houses look the same on MLS. Every room looked the same. And so, it can change your staging. It can take it up 2 or 3 levels, honestly. I mean, you can do beautiful staging in a home and have gorgeous props and gorgeous furniture. But if your backdrop is a dated, bad color, the whole thing is just not what it's not at the level that it could be. And it's really pretty simple, once you learn how to use color and use it for the purpose of selling the home as a marketing tool.
Yeah. You remember back in the day when we all started in this industry, and everything, like you said, was the shaker beige on the walls, neutral, 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 neutral.
Yeah.
And now it's like, not so much anymore. I mean, we look at all the home staging industry awards, and you look at the stagers that are doing more of the higher end properties, and you see the color contrast. I saw photos on the line today, which had a very, very dark navy blue wall. And I was like, this is the best picture I've seen in a year. I mean, it's just absolutely stunning because the contrast with the paint and the whites. Right. It wasn't quite nautical, but it kind of gave me a nautical kind of feel. I like the blues and white colors together. It's just so attractive, and there's so much room for it now. But like I was saying earlier, if you don't know what you're doing,
you got to be careful.
Yourself. When you're trying to give advice as a stager, let me say it this way. Oh, I don't want to say it that way. I'll say it this way. So I'm looking to sell my home. And I'm going to be staging my home, obviously. I'm going to hire a stager to do it. I'm not going to do it myself. But it's one of those things, if I was doing something on my own, it could very easily pick the wrong color of paint. And then the accessories that they want to bring in later on down the line or the furniture might not match up. So what I'm doing is I'm waiting for the stager to get here to tell me what it is to paint. But if you're a stager and you're not sure of color and really how it works, I would strongly, highly suggest you get training on it. And at the very least, take this class at RESACON because it can really make a difference.
Absolutely. So many times, just recently in my staging training course, we went and staged a home, and I had done a consultation the week before, but it had already been repainted completely. And the whole thing was like lemon yellow. And it was freshly painted, beautiful paint job, but it was lemon yellow. And so, we had to go with that. We had to work with that like we always have to do, right? But if they had contacted me earlier and I could have chosen the right color for them, that house would have been magnificent, absolutely magnificent. So, yeah, you need to do that on the front end for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And I know for me, I probably won't list my house for another 2 months, but that's why, I'm already starting to pack and I know what to do. But even with me, I'm like, wait, I should hang on to this. She might have a different idea about it. So I know I'm picking up all my personal photos. Those are going to go anyway. So I know what to get rid of right now, but I can't wait for her to get here to be able to tell me what else it is that we can do.
We go blind to our own stuff, right? In our own house, you kind of go blind to it. You've lived in it. I've lived in my home for 18 years now. And gosh, you can kind of see behind me. I've got a very specific style, and I have an older home. And so I would need, honestly, I don't believe that I could stage my house myself because I'm too emotionally attached to it. I have too much history with it, and you need a fresh set of eyes to come in and just, get past your emotions, which is, a lot of what occupied staging is helping those sellers get past their own emotions and see it as something to be marketed, and not that home that they've raised their kids in and that they've had all these life markers in. It's one of the most stressful things, Shell. You're about to do it. It's one of the top 3 stressors in life behind death and divorce is moving. So, so as stagers, we have to, help buyers kind of navigate that. And it's interesting. I keep thinking about Anthea. I love that you do the personality testing, and you and I have talked a lot. Anthea and I are both in Nashville, so I don't know if everybody knew that. But so we're big pals, and she is like the queen of vacant staging, right? And my heart has always been with occupied staging, and she doesn't understand that, and I don't understand why she would prefer to do what she does. And it's very different personality types. And so about a year ago, I started integrating a personality test that I kind of developed in the course that I do, my training course, because I feel like I kept feeling like all these women who were coming to my course, like they kind of fell into two categories in terms of personality. And I started kind of testing that. And there's a different personality of stager that is drawn to occupied staging versus vacant. Very different, right, Anthea?
Absolutely. Like you can't put me in an occupied property. I don't care about people's stuff. I don't care about the emotion. I want in, I want out. I want wham, bam, thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
Kristie, she's a nurturer. She wants to love her people, which is awesome. I just like, oh boy, that's just draining to me. So, but isn't that fabulous that all of us can be in the same industry?
Yeah.
We all have such unique business models and we can complement each other and work together so well. And Kristie and I have a fabulous time partnering up and doing things together. We have a blast.
I think that's so awesome. I would imagine also with the vacant staging, the personality type would be probably a little bit more type A personality type. Someone would probably had a sales background.
Sure.
Can close that sale, no problem. More of the verbal type of a person for just closing it, just getting it done. And then the occupied would be, again, somebody who's just very caring and loving and slower paced and all.
I don't know that I'm slower paced. I'm pretty fast paced, but you have to really quickly establish a relationship with people and gain their trust. Or they're not going to
their personality like that.
Yeah, and they're not going to follow your recommendations if they don't trust you. And you've got like 10 or 15 minutes to kind of establish that when you first meet them. So, but I'm a relationship person, so that's kind of. But Anthea's, she's a perfectly lovely relational person. So it's not a matter of her not liking people, but her mindset is different. And she's more of a numbers and, business and, all that. So
I want to turn them and burn them. Like,
turn them and burn them.
That's all I care about is production. Not about the story about how this has been in the family for 100 years. Like, I think that's sweet and all, but let's
no, you don't.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love it. I love it. Well, I'm super excited to have you both again at RESACON. If anybody's on the fence about coming to RESACON, please jump off that fence, take that dive, go to the website, resaconvention.com, and buy that ticket today. We are still at the early bird pricing. Not only are you going to get amazing speakers like these two wonderful women today, you're also going to learn from your peers. So the learning is not just in the sessions and the classes that you take and the keynote. It's also sitting with somebody at breakfast, at a break, at the lunch. The Home Staging Industry Awards Banquet is the largest event of the year. And that's where we're going to honor, the top industry professionals. And you'll want to be part of that as well. Anything you two want to add?
I think this is the convention not to miss this year.
Absolutely.
The lineup of speakers is flipping amazing. Like, I want to be in everybody's talk because everything looks fantastic. So, Shell, we got to figure out how to be able to hit everything. That's the problem.
Yeah. Well, we think I might have a solution for that. So watch for an announcement hopefully in the next 2 weeks. We're hopefully going to record sessions. So
great.
That way, at least the people in attendance, that's the one thing we hear, they wish they could see something else. But, years ago, we did it where we had less speakers and everybody saw the same speaker, but people are all over their business. So this is really the best way to be able to do it. But sometimes you do want to see maybe one other session or two others that you can't get to. So we're looking into trying to get that done this year.
I know it's a bummer this year because Kristie and I are speaking at the same time.
I know.
And I was wanting to be in her class. Like,
I want to be in your. I need you to teach me how to manage people.
All right, so the recording is going to do it.
There you go. Hopefully we'll get that done for everybody. Again, thank you both for joining me. I really appreciate everything that you do for our industry on the daily, and so does everybody else. Again, if you're on the fence about RESACON, please jump off and come join us. You will not regret it. Until next time, happy staging. Bye.